Good evening, good evening, good evening, and welcome to a new edition of Urban Sentinel Live. And I'm your host, Reggie Kearney. I'm also the publisher of the Urban Sentinel magazine, working on trying to get this October, November copy out. Should be out any day now, hopefully before Friday. Um, so that's what's happening with that. I want to welcome everybody to the show tonight. Hope everyone has been doing well. I've been a little under the weather myself, but I'm hanging in there. Tonight, I got a friend of mine with me. He's been on the show before. Very influential individual from Jacksonville, Florida. Got my friend Richard Cuff with me tonight. We're going to discuss politics and what's going on around this country. So,
All
Rich,
right.
how you doing tonight, man?
I'm doing well, man. How about yourself?
Oh, I'm doing fine, man. Been a little under the weather, man. Took my flu shot last week and my COVID shot last Wednesday. And
Yeah.
man, the flu shot, as it always does every year, takes me to my knees.
Yeah.
Man, I had a
Well, it's
bad Thursday, a bad Friday, got the feeling better Saturday and Sunday, but still, now I got a little cough now, so hey, I'm getting through it, man. I'm getting through it.
it's better than having the flu take you out yourself. And
Mhm.
it's unfortunate that we are at this stage now where vaccines and everything is so controversial.
Yeah.
But that's part of an amazing game plan that's really working. And
Mhm.
hopefully we can get into a little bit of
Yeah.
us talking about a game plan for ourselves.
Yeah. Yeah. And I know there are people out there that really don't care for the shots. I know some people would not take neither one of the shots, but I do it for my own comfort level.
Yeah,
I'd rather go through the ups and downs of taking shots than not. And then it cost me my life. So, hey,
exactly.
do what you got to do. And that's how I look at
Yeah,
it. So, man, what's happening down in Jacksonville?
we dodged two bullets
Oh,
in
yeah.
Hurricane Helene and then Hurricane Milton. So
Yeah.
that's pretty cool. It seems like Jacksonville is in this uh, uh, hurricane sweet spot. You
Right.
know, it for whatever reason, hurricanes never come directly at Jacksonville. They
Hmm.
go to the east, to the west, the north, the south. We get the rain bands. You get, and sometimes there's more or as much damage on the outer bands as it is when the eye passes right over you.
Right.
But um, like we just got some of the wind and some major wind from Helene
Hmm.
because it passed to our west, and the wind usually on the east is the worst as it's whipping around coming back up.
Right.
But um but then we got the on this one, um Milton, because it went south. We were on the left side of the storm, so that's the weaker side, if
Hmm.
you will. So we didn't see much up here. And I know, a lot of people were told to evacuate. Some people like angry maybe that they had to evacuate and it wasn't bad.
Hmm.
But I mean Jacksonville, but the state of Florida is kind of interesting. Down south, and there's only I-95 and I-75 to get out of here.
Right.
So when everybody's piled onto the expressway, you're gonna be sitting there for hours, running out of gas and all those other things. But not everybody has the finances, to
Hmm.
pull up 5 and 6 days earlier and go up to their Midwest home or
Yeah.
wherever. So it's a lot of people had to wait till the last minute, and
Right.
but we're going to have more of that. There's
Oh,
no
yeah.
denying
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
we are in an age now where this is going to be going on for a minute.
Yeah. Climate change, man. Climate change. And
Yeah.
it's sad that a certain segment of the population doesn't believe in climate change, but it's here. You look at the western side of Florida,
Hmm.
man. They got beat to death.
Yeah, my daughter said not even hurricanes want to come to Jacksonville. but
Right. Yeah. Well, that's good.
but yeah, but but it's the young people. That's part of the issue here, and
Mhm.
part of the issue with this nation is that it's out with the old and in with the new. And
Right.
unfortunately, the old generation, especially the old white generation, the old white power brokers that
Mm-hmm.
use racism and classism and all the other isms, um, they didn't prepare their younger generation to take the
Mm-hmm.
new world. They literally just ignored them. Like, if you don't hate Negroes the way we hate Negroes, then you
Right.
are woke. That,
Right.
woke is a new word for nigger love, well, Negro lover.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what
Mhm.
that's if that's the worst thing you could be, if other than being black, is being somebody that's attached or affiliated with them.
Right.
And DeSantis proved that. They stopped the whole Stop Woke Act. But what that has done is set them up that there are no heirs to their kingdom. They
Mm-hmm.
have nobody that's ready to step in their shoes. In the meantime, African Americans are positioned to inherit it all. The Bible says the meek shall inherit the earth. And and I believe that the meek is those black folk that look around. Look who's the arrogant compared to the meek. We
Mm-hmm.
certainly ain't the arrogant.
You're
We're
right
not the
about that.
ones. Yeah, we're not the ones able to shoot rockets to the moon and ride them for pay $300,000 for a ride up into the atmosphere and come back down.
Mhm.
That's
Right.
yeah. But those that are in that position right now, I think, are losing their grip, and that's
Mhm.
why they are so um, welcoming of Donald Trump. Even though they don't like him, they'll hold on to him. So or attach themselves to him. Mitt Romney today, or maybe yesterday, he said that he was going to um, vote for the party's candidate.
Right.
Donald Trump has smacked him up and down, left and right. He
Mm-hmm.
he was the first to sign, and I think one of the only ones to sign to impeach Trump,
Mm-hmm.
and spoke out against January 6th, but he's still going to vote for him
Right.
because after Trump, this is what everybody wants. After Trump, they want to be in a position of power, and so he wants to show the party that when they hand out the little tickets and the hats next year, or after Trump, there's going to be a Republican Party after Trump. The
Mm-hmm.
question should be, should the Republican Party be one of the two dominant parties? I think the Republican Party is done. It's useless. I think the two major parties should be the Democratic Party and the Progressive Party. A
Mm-hmm.
progressive middle would attract the sensible Republicans,
Mm-hmm.
and it would pull the far left Democrats. It would pull them back away from some of what would be considered the extreme agenda,
Right.
and move us forward. So,
Mm-hmm.
um, but and that, I got there's some other stuff going on. That on the climate change thing. I just want to share this with you real quick.
Okay.
Um, our nonprofit organization, League of Florida Orchestras, and
Mm-hmm.
Nasimba Business Alliance, we partnered with the um, the musicians local union here in Jacksonville, and we got a $10,000 grant from Jacksonville University.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, to for a climate crisis poetry competition. So we wanted to have the high school students write poems, and the
Mm-hmm.
winners would get a scholarship, we about $500.
Mm-hmm.
But the winner had his poem set to orchestrated music. We hired a composer and a conductor and a 25-piece orchestra to record the music, and I did the voice. And we'll be releasing that a little bit later this year, leading into next, using that poem as a promotional piece for
Mm-hmm.
next year's competition. So we
Mm-hmm.
hope to take that national, because it is time now. We're what we need to do now is stop talking about fossil fuels. Yes, we do need to cut down fossil fuels because everything we do today could make it less than it is now. But pretty much the horse is out of the barn
Right.
as it relates to the damage we've already done. And listen, Mother Earth has been floating around the sun for millions of years. And if it's got to raise the water up, 12 feet over our head and drown every human being on Earth, and then the Earth spins around the sun for another million years to clean itself up, Earth will do that. It's got time.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not concerned about the damage we do to Earth. Earth can take care of itself.
Mm-hmm.
What we need to do is focus on the damage we're doing to each other and the opportunity that we are missing to get it right. You
Mm-hmm.
know, this is our opportunity. There's so many great things that's going on
Mm-hmm.
that we can take advantage of, and this is the time to do it.
Right. Going back to what you were saying that young people are marching to a different beat. So be it. I mean, we got to look at. We were once their age one time too, and we were marching to a different beat. And trying to get things done. I think young people now they look at the world totally different, than what we do. They look at the glass half full, and they don't commit themselves to um, one thing, okay? Because they're gonna weigh. Young people will definitely weigh their
Their
opportunity
options, yeah.
for this during this election. Okay, they're going to look at
Hmm.
both sides. Hopefully, they're going to do the right thing. But they don't like to be pigeonholed. They want to hear both sides. They want to hear the truth. They don't want to hear a whole lot of fluff. They want to know, what are you going to do for me? How's my life going to improve? Where we are kind of set in our ways as far as what we're looking for. But the country is changing. Uh, this guy, from his first time in office, he changed this country, and you wonder, can it ever get back to where it was? You know.
Well, this I followed that whole progression.
Mm-hmm.
From the moment Barack Obama spoke at the 2004 Democratic National Convention
Mm-hmm.
and lit it up, and nobody really, they couldn't even pronounce his name pretty much.
Mm-hmm.
But the way that he spoke in 2004, you knew that he had a political future.
Right.
Now he was new to the game. He was supposed to come in and play the game the way you like Mitt Romney. Mitt Romney is playing the game. Mitt Romney is saying, I'm going to do what the party wants me to do, so that when it's time for the party to make a decision about me being the next leader, the next president, I want to show the party that wherever the party went, I went. I went with the party. So
Mm-hmm.
Romney is hoping to be the next Republican candidate, but Romney's going to get chewed up and spit out by DeSantis, because DeSantis is going to take everything that Trump did to the 10th power, and he's going to do it. He's going to do it quickly. He's going to chew Romney up so fast, because Romney's going to be the old guy 4 years from now, so he's going to get
Right.
chewed up.
Right.
And so that's, like I said, the only thing that we can do to combat that is to relegate the Republican Party to the back of the bus now. Put them at the back of the bus where they deserve to be, because they have proven themselves to not be a party worthy of putting any suggestion in the hat
Mm-hmm.
for what a leader of this nation should be like. So I think that if that's the first thing we need to recognize is, um, you know, that going forward, yes, young people are not thinking the way that we thought, but these young people are getting an economy that's worth trillions of dollars. When we were kids, it was unimaginable that we
Right.
would have $1 trillion of anything. Nobody even
Hey,
used the
Richard,
word trillion.
Yeah.
Richard, just really quickly along those same lines, because we've been talking about this on our network, meaning Pod TV, for a while and everything, and there are a lot of people that are speculating that it's in the bag already for a Trump victory and all along those lines, and a lot of people are saying that it's in the bag because there are a lot of women that are, a lot of men, including men, I hate to say it, in our community, that have publicly said in a growing amount of numbers that they will never vote for a woman, and particularly a black woman. And we've heard that, and we know what Obama said with the whole speech where he tried to get on some of those brothers. And given it's only 15 to 20%, but that's much more than it has been for some other Republican candidates and everything. So, what is your take on this notion that there's a sizable portion of people, not just black men, but also young people and Generation X and others that are scared to have a woman leader and are being maybe even having a certain amount of animosity toward women leadership?
Well, that's one of the things that happened with Hillary. I mean, we can go back and look at Hillary. I think one thing this country has shown, they don't mind having a woman in charge as a governor, okay? But even when Hillary came along, there was pushback on her. Even though she had a little baggage with her, there was pushback on her as far as being president of the United States. And you look around the world, many countries have had and do have ladies running their country. I mean, you look at Mexico. Mexico has a female president. I think one of the problems we have here in America, we just can't get beyond race. Okay, I mean, she's qualified. She has her own style. I mean, she's talking to us and she's giving us ideas and giving us her thoughts on what things should be like. You got the other guy dancing around on stage for 30 minutes like he in the Twilight Zone, like he doesn't know where he is and everything. He's canceling stuff. He's, yesterday he said, he'll see everybody on January 5th. And, he's thinking that's the day to vote, so we got a difference. But I think this time, I mean, even though you do have some naysayers out there, okay, I'm not crazy, to think that everybody's on board. But I think at the end of the day, when they look at who can best serve this country, I think she's going to, it's going to be a close race, but I think she's going to tumble on in there. I think people are going to give her the benefit of the doubt, and they're going to give her 4 years. But I think after 4 years, she's really going to have to fight to get a second term, because I think some things have been unchanged and people really going to go after her.
Well, there are several things. Number one, about the what they say.
Mm-hmm.
What we've got to realize is one of the most effective and old school things in war is propaganda.
Mm-hmm.
And back in World War II and even World War I, they would literally fly and drop pamphlets and leaflets and documents so that people could read it and say, look, your leaders are trying to poison you. They're doing whatever the things is, but they were all lies, because that's what propaganda did. It was to turn the people against their own leaders.
Right.
Fast forward, there was a company, and I think I may have mentioned the last time I was on the show, we probably talked about it, Cambridge Analytica.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the Steve Bannon's company. This guy, Steve Bannon, who had a newspaper, he knew that 2 Ivy League professors had come up with a algorithm, if you will, for psychology, for the way a person is thinking, their psychology.
Mm-hmm.
And knew that if you could determine the way or determine X about a person, then you could determine Y. If you could get them to do A, you can get them to do B.
Yeah.
Because they knew that, he went over to Great Britain and formed a new company called Cambridge Analytica that then came back over here to the United States and stole people's information from their Facebook pages. If people would do this thing with like, how would you look if you were 93 years old? And people were doing that just before Trump got elected. Everybody was doing that. But what they didn't realize was Facebook said they could have access to your photos to do that image. But instead, they went into your Facebook page and got access to all your friends and all their friends. And they ended up using that analytical data, and they developed profiles. These people hate Hillary. These people love Hillary.
Mm-hmm.
These people hate Trump. These people love Trump. These people, Black people specifically,
Mm-hmm.
if they keep getting negative information, they will just simply check out. And that proved itself to be true because Trump won in some states by 10,000 votes. And over 200,000 votes didn't show up. The numbers were clear.
Mm-hmm.
Everywhere that Romney got votes, Trump got the same amount of votes, almost every state, in every time.
Mm-hmm.
But in places where Barack Obama had like 300,000 votes in Michigan, 300,000 more, Hillary lost lost 200,000 less. Why? Why? Because black folk did not vote for Hillary. What is happening is there's so much information that's being flooded now because everybody has learned what Cambridge Analytica taught us.
Mm-hmm.
Just keep telling Negroes the same lie, and eventually they'll just start either believing it, start spitting it out themselves, or just sit on their hands and say, there's nothing we can do. Let's wait till Jesus come and change it.
Mm-hmm.
And you get 200,000 black folk. That's why Trump is so close. Trump is not close because they believe he's going to get votes. Trump is close because they believe the messaging is working to make people not like Kamala Harris. And the economy is better than it's ever been. Jobs better than it's ever been. Wall Street better than it's ever been. Black folks living conditions better than it's ever been. I don't care. You can say yes, we're not as good as we should be, but by every one of the matrix to measure the economy, anything you want to measure, it's better right now. Why can't Kamala Harris say anything? Because she's walking that very thin line that white people will bash her upside her head if she tries to take credit for anything that should go to white people.
Hey, Richard,
So
along those same lines, just out of curiosity, because I was talking to the boss of the network here, meaning Pod TV and everything, and even she was saying that she's thinking about sitting on her hands or not voting. I've heard other people say that as well because they have pretty much conceded the election. So, what do you say to folks that are thinking about not going out? Because I've heard that from some brothers and sisters as well. And by the way, she's not a brother or sister, but what do you say to those folks that are so frustrated that they're thinking that they are not going to vote because it's already been in the can or it's already been determined and that their vote, quote unquote, doesn't matter?
Well,
you're stupid.
yeah.
They're stupid.
Mm-hmm.
There's ignorant. Ignorant is I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
Stupid is you know and you still stick your finger in the light socket to go ahead and get the shock. You're
Mm-hmm.
stupid because you know that if you don't add your vote to the one column, it's like adding a vote to the other column, and you choose to be stupid.
Yeah.
Simple
Yeah.
as that. I will never not vote. I will never not vote. Because number one, my ancestors, hell, my ancestors were in chain wishing they could vote. And I'm gonna get here now and say I'm not gonna vote.
Mm-hmm.
And you don't need to be a rocket scientist to tell, okay, these are the two bad choices. If your behind believes that those are not the right choices, guess what? You go and run for office and tell me why you are better than those two.
Mm-hmm.
That's what you should be doing. Get involved in the game. You don't sit on the sideline and then wonder why your team ain't winning or complain because you're in the losing column or any of that. I'm telling you, if Trump wins, black folk deserve a Trump. But let me tell you why he's not going to win. He's not going to win because we are in a stage right now, these next 20 years. I may have shared this. I don't know how many different podcasts I've shared it on, but there's a 60-year cycle. Literally it lines up with the Chinese New Year called the Water Tiger. It was in 2022. And the 20 years after the Chinese Year of the Water Tiger have always, throughout our history, been the most progressive and prosperous years for African Americans. And you can go all the way back. I can take it back to the 20 years of the war between the French and the Haitians in 1780 to 1802. That war turned out to be victorious. But here's the key. Every time after the 20 years, the backlash sets us back another 60 years. So what is happening is we roll up, we luck up. We got look at the 20 years after the last Chinese New Year of the Water Tiger, 1962. What did we get? Civil Rights Act, Voting Rights Act, this affirmative action. We got corporate jobs. We got Coca-Cola. Remember, what's his name? Jesse Jackson was getting Pepsi-Cola or Coca-Cola. He was fighting everybody's franchise. Corporations were writing the checkbooks and hiring us, and we were doing everything for 20 years. And then we got to 1982, 20 years later, and who hit us? Ronald Reagan. And look at what we got later. The backlash has always erased the advances. So I'm saying the same thing is going to happen now, but it's going to be crazy, y'all, for Black people to inherit prosperity for the next 20 years and blow it because we don't know that we got it, and then not be prepared for the hand that we know they're going to play 20 years from now. They are raising up leaders at this very moment. They are training they literally have white kids going through classes to learn how to think with their minds and their eyes closed and be able to move matter. They are raising up a new generation. And what we're doing, name one thing that Black folk are doing on any level to prepare the next generation of children for something in the future. We're not doing that.
That's one of the things we don't do. We don't train for tomorrow, okay? We don't have think tanks and everything. Now, in my area, we've tried using think tanks before. We've had them. They start out good. Everybody's going rah, rah, rah. You meet for about 6-7 months straight, and then all of a sudden things start falling apart. We have to get involved and stick with what we're going to get involved with and everything, okay? These people going right here saying that, I'm not going to vote. Yeah, they stupid. They're ignorant, okay? Excuse me, because you got to cast a vote. I don't care how you cast your vote, but you got to cast your vote, okay? People died so you could cast your vote, okay? So the problem is going to happen that if we don't, these swing states, if we don't go out and vote, these swing states are going to be so close that you don't know where it's going to fall at, okay? And we might be the cause of Harris not getting into office because, we talk about her. I've heard people say, well, when we're going to get a Black candidate, how Black you got to be?
That's part of the issue, Reggie. There's still people that are also trying to play that division game because they're trying to say that she's not, quote unquote, Black enough, but she's half Black and half Indian and everything. And there is no doubt that there is a growing population of biracial kids of all sorts out here and everything. But that is one of the ways that they try to do, and I'm sure even Richard might agree with that divide and conquer kind of mentality. I did have a question for both you and Richard because you kind of made that statement and everything earlier. I do think that there are some innovations going on in our community. I'm here in Durham, North Carolina. I know that Renee Daughtry has a program called Asymmetry that is teaching a lot of our kids about drones and about computer technology. I just finished last week doing a conference called the the Social Work Wealth Conference, and Eva Ford, who was a sister, organized that conference. It was mostly sisters that were involved in that conference. You had some white women and others involved in it as well, but definitely it was sister-led, for lack of a better term, and everything. So I've seen some innovations in various parts, and Eva is in New York and everything. So I've seen some innovations in our community. So I can't say that we're not teaching our kids some of these technologies. Now, are we doing enough of it? That I might give you, but I do think that there are some programs where we are seeing some folks doing some leadership.
Yeah, follow what I was saying. I'm not saying we are not preparing individually on the micro level. We are preparing our children for the future. All you got to do is look at Deion Sanders and his son, and look at LeBron James and his son, and my son works at Microsoft, and my daughter is working on her master's degree in violin performance. Both of them are on a path to be millionaires by the time they're 32 years old if they manage their investments the way they have been since they were 8 years old. But those are all micro individual levels. I'm talking about, we don't have a heritage foundation that leads to a conservative think tank. Their think tanks are stacked on top of each other. What's his name? Oh, golly, the last one, the guy that got in the Supreme Court, the under Trump, Kagan. What's his name? No, the last guy.
Is it Kavanaugh?
Kavanaugh, yeah, Brett Kavanaugh. His mother was in the Reagan administration trying to dismantle something with the government or whatever. That woman made a plan to get her son on the Supreme Court 60 years ago. That it was 40, what, 60 years, something, almost what, 40, no, 40 years ago. 40 years ago, they launched the plan to put her son on the Supreme Court 40 years ago because they knew they needed the Supreme Court to get the stuff that they got. That's the long game that they're playing. I'm saying, yes, we're teaching our kids to fly drones. We're teaching them to work programs and everything else. And I really appreciate my son for the hard work that he put in to get in at Microsoft. But I'm constantly reminding him that you still are an employee for Bill Gates. And if you're not working on getting some of your friends and trying to create some innovative technology that you can have the multi-billion-dollar corporation and sell shares of stock and get together and invest in something else as well, then you're not playing the game the way they're playing the game.
Hey, Richard,
But here's the beauty. Yes,
lines,
sir.
yeah, Richard, along those same lines, and this you might find interesting. At that same conference, the keynote speaker, and you might know this name, he comes from the white side of society and everything, but Seth Godin was their keynote speaker. And he actually made the argument, because he was one of the founders of Yahoo and everything, but he actually made the argument that the sisters and brothers and everybody else that was attending that conference, because a lot of them were thinking they wanted to go into the entrepreneurship journey. He actually made the argument that no, you don't want to be an entrepreneur. You actually want to be a freelancer, because as a freelancer, you're actually in control of what you're doing. Whereas an entrepreneur, you're not as much in control as you think you are. And I'm paraphrasing what he said, but he was actually making the argument that more people want to be more in control, which then makes them more of a freelancer and not necessarily an entrepreneur.
Right. But see, and Seth Godin, I respect him. He's like the marketing guru. I'm a marketing consultant. I've been following Seth for years. He has this wonderful way, his mindset, just the way he thinks about marketing is like genius level, right? Genius level. But he comes from this space where I saw a guy on social media, and he was explaining white Jesus versus black Jesus. And he said, and he's talking, his white guy who's talking to white folk. He's saying, listen, white people, I got to tell you, I didn't think of it this way. I'm looking at it this way now. He says, white people have a different experience. We look at the same thing that black people look at, but we see it differently. He says, the black Jesus got lynched on the cross, but white Jesus is the one who forgave them for doing it. See, that's the luxury. Black folk are the ones who get the pain, and white people are the one who have the luxury of writing it off and moving on to the next level. So when you're talking about thinking like an entrepreneur as opposed to thinking like a freelancer, well, freelancer means I've got money in the bank. I can go and knock on Wall Street doors. I can say, look, I'm free to think the way I think. I don't belong to any corporation. Why don't you invest in my next big idea and give me money so that I can launch the next PayPal or the next this? Oh, here you go. Here's $500 million. Go and see what you can do. Yes, as a freelancer, you can do that. But as an entrepreneur, I got to be creative as hell because I ain't got it. So I ain't got no choice but to be the entrepreneur, because the only other choice that I have is to be somebody's payroll, paid employee. So you got paid employee, you got broke, homeless, nothing. You got a job that I'm thanking God for. You got the luxury to be the entrepreneur, or you have the privilege of being a freelancer. Yes. And black folk don't make it to the level of freelancer. We're lucky. I'm lucky to have the position that when my wife died 3 years ago, I didn't have to go and punch a clock and say, oh, Lord, Jesus, 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 I need a job. I need a job. I had enough of a cushion to not have to work for 3 years. But guess what? I don't have the luxury of now, after not having to work, to go and be a freelancer. You see, meaning that I got to go and put this to work. I got to get creative now. I got to be entrepreneurial because I got to pay up these bills, and I don't have the luxury of some hedge fund with family corporations that have nothing but money that they're sitting on that they have to do something with. And I'll say this note real quick, because there's a lot of stuff that we need to be talking about beyond the level of politics. Because when you peel back the levels, you'll start seeing that white folk have the luxury of saying, I'm not going to vote this time around. We don't.
Right.
They do. The Walton family, when Sam Walton died in 1996, he was worth like 87.5 billion. He split it up between his 5 children. They got like 14.5 billion each, somewhere in there. Fast forward 30 years later, each one of the Walton children are worth over $80 billion somewhere. 3 of them are going to hit $100 billion by the end of this year. And collectively, as the Walton family company, the family business, or family office is what it's called. The family office, they make $4 million
But hold a second.
an hour.
Isn't that part of the problem that we've been doing as a society and everything? Because as you were saying that, I was thinking to myself, we have a black press here in this area that just came out of its 3rd generation, meaning the 3rd generation member died maybe about 1.5 years, 2 years ago, and everything like that. And it literally ceased operation after that person passed away. So I think about the corporations. I just use that as an example.
Yeah.
I can think of other ones as well, that when the founders, I mean, you can look at North Carolina Mutual, which is part of Black Wall Street and everything, but when the founders are maybe the 2nd or 3rd generation passed, there wasn't enough of that training in the purpose of generational wealth that it literally stopped. And because it stopped, we don't have that. I'm not saying there are not any, but we don't have as many of those Walton kinds of organizations, because we don't have that mentality going forward. So I just wanted, as a CEO, that part of what we're doing wrong is that we've got too many people that are not training their next generations in order to go keep it going for generations to come. Past your death, past your grandson's death, past the death.
Exactly. I wish I could sit in a room with Seth and get him, Seth Golden, and get him to understand that you're looking at it from a different side of the mountain. To come down to freelancing is to come down past the next stage, private equity, because right on the other side of the freelancer is the person that has the private equity, and on the other side of the private equity is the corporation. That what Walton family was a corporate. When Sam Walton died, he was a multi-billion-dollar corporation. He wasn't a mom and pop business holding on, and that's the difference. We're not making it from side hustle entrepreneur to freelancer corporation. They start at freelancer and end up at corporation. We start at side hustle and hope we end up as a freelancer, because every now and then you'll get a Famous Amos. Famous Amos made it big because he tapped into private equity, and these investors started giving him money to build up his cookie company. But guess what? Those same investors bought him out and later sued him and said he couldn't wear the hat or the bandana or anything because you look like we own that brand now. And you look like our logo, so you can't go walking around looking like our logo. He won the court case, but yeah.
Yeah, I'm curious. I'm laughing at you. Part of the reason I'm laughing, I'm going to turn it back over to definitely turn it back over to Reggie and everything. But part of the reason I'm laughing is because I understand, and I just recently learned this because I haven't tried them yet, but there is a similar situation. I think they're white-owned, but like here in Durham, we have a chapter of Insomnia Cookies and everything. And it's my understanding that part of the reason that Insomnia Cookies was created was because it was somebody that was, and it's not my culture, but they were part of the drug culture and everything. So they realized people needed a sugar fix. So that's part of the reason that they created Insomnia Cookies, which is now a very successful franchise. I know here in this area, it stays open till 3:00. It's near the Duke campus. And I'm sure a lot of those kids some of them might be on drugs, some of them might be cramming for their tests, but he recognized as part of that culture that there was a need. So he created that need based on what he had seen as a founder and everything. And that's my understanding of the story. I could have the story slightly mixed up, but I thought he was involved in the drug game in some ways.
Well, here, Jackson, in fact, it's going to be on the ballot on November 5th that the state of Florida has Amendment 4 to legalize marijuana. I'm driving down the street. What used to be a Taco Bell is now a cannabis dispensary, and it's prepared to be the moment they legalize marijuana, it's going to become a weed store, but a weed store that's owned by black folk. I mean, by white folk, not black folk. You know, we were being sent to jail for 3 joints, 30 years ago, 40 years ago. And now it's becoming legal. And then next thing you know, you get white innovation like insomnia cookies and all of these other things that come along. How cute. You got the munchies. You're smoking weed, and now you can go and buy some cookies. What a difference 40 years make. What a difference it makes when you don't have a political agenda. That's the only reason why weed became illegal the way that it was, is because Nixon needed a way to make black folk villains.
Yeah.
And he attached weed smoking to black people, and heroin to white people. And those things made us the criminals. And then along came Clinton with his 3 strikes and you're out. And they just drove it home. But again, as I was saying before, it's simply backlash to what we're doing. And unfortunately, now that I'm looking at the clock, man, I can't help but think in another 4 minutes, we'll be on 45 minutes. And the Walton family will have made $3 million in the 15. If they make $1 million, their money is making $1 million every 15 minutes if they don't do a thing for the rest of their lives. That's how much money they got.
Yeah.
So,
but
we can't. We gotta get into the game. We gotta start thinking, how do we build bigger?
But we don't have that luxury in our community because we don't have those deep pockets. We have some individuals that are doing great. Like Perkins. He went to bankruptcy court, was able to get Fuddruckers, at a basement price. Now he's, doing well with that. I mean, he's establishing himself. We had some individuals out here that could do it. Bob Johnson, but he's gone off. He's just sitting on his money. He's not, as I know of, doing anything really with his money, along with his wife. So, and then what happens too? So many of our professional sports guys have so much money that the ones who haven't spent it all, they could come together collectively to put together organizations that could funnel money back into the community to help, fledgling or growing Black businesses. Okay, we have the infrastructure there, but the people who are part of that infrastructure, they look at finances differently. They look at that's their money, okay, and I'm not going to put it back into the community to help my community.
Let me tell you how we.
I'm sorry. Along those same lines, because I've been approached by some of those kind of organizations sometime back and everything. Sometimes what happens is, and I don't know how it works in the Maryland area, even in Florida, is you also get that ego trip that we sometimes fall into as well. Because I know that there have been times that people have approached me about being part of these business think tanks and business kind of like organizations that will work together, and then one person is afraid that another person is going to have more control, and you might have to have a leader in any organization, but they're afraid that they won't have enough voice, and sometimes they won't join those organizations because they're afraid that they're being abused within the organization. I'm not saying that abuse doesn't happen within some of these organizations, but how do we get past that? Because I do know some people that are apprehensive about joining these kind of think tanks that y'all talking about because they're afraid that whoever is at top won't delegate enough, for lack of a better word.
Well, let me tell you what, I was a private chauffeur for one of the wealthiest men here in Jacksonville in the 1995-96 when the Jacksonville Jaguars first started, and they're playing like they just started, like 30. You'd think they'd be much better. They gone nowhere. But anyway,
we can say the same thing about Carolina.
Okay, so I was his chauffeur, and he was my mentor. I'd never seen anybody with money like that kind of money. He was one of the very first investors in the very first HMO. And he and 8 other doctors, I think, got in on the investment. And they each put like $150,000 in. Now, these are all white guys. And this is a brand new thing that's going to take off. They're not certain if it's going to work. So they're all taking a risk with their $150,000. And here is the the misconception that black folk have. Black folks say, well, black people can't get together. We need to be able to act like white people act. I am in the limo driving as he's on the phone with the other doctors, cussing him out, yelling, screaming, because they thought that somebody felt like he got them duped into something that causing them to lose their money, because when they put the 150 in, like over a million or so they collectively had, um, they looked like they were going to lose their money within 6 months of getting into this investment. So what he did was he went and borrowed the money or raised the money to buy all of them out, give them back their 150,000. So all 7 of them were happy. How about less than a year later or so, that HMO was bought out and his shares went from like $1.5 million or so to $23 million. And then those same 7 doctors are now wanting to sue him because they said he had some inside information and knew that that was going to happen. See, they were fighting the whole time, but he made a really wise investment. And then I started listening to the kind of investments he was making, and I heard him tell someone on the phone, and Mark, this is the answer to that question. He said to this guy on the phone, he says, listen, as long as you get what you want, why do you care what I'm getting? And meaning white people have to put white people in check. And so I don't want to do business. If somebody's in my pocket, then you're not part of the investment group. You need to go back over here to side hustle lane, because there's a place where you can have that mindset. But when you come up here to this higher level, and unfortunately, that's why you got people like Mitt Romney. These people at the very top will let Donald Trump come in and do what Donald Trump is doing because it benefits their stock portfolio. It puts money in their pocket. It's growing their wealth. It's lowering their taxes. They don't care. It could be Mickey Mouse or Bobo the Clown. All they care about is what's going in their pocket, and they do not care about what falls on the ground. And that's an unfortunate mindset to have. But we can get in there, and I believe that God is raising up a people who's going to come in and do it the right way. God is saying, hey, look, how about I give you $100 million, because I know that you're going to put 90 million of that back into the kingdom. Yes, God is starting to do that. So I'm going to share something with you guys, that this right here, for all of them black folk that talking about they ain't voting because Barack Obama didn't do nothing, they don't know nothing. Again, it's stupid. And remember, I told you, I'm not talking about ignorant people who just don't know. I'm talking about people who choose to be stupid because you're comfortable stupid. Barack Obama had 4 years to do 2 big things. Number one, what was the first thing he did when he got into office? He got the Affordable Care Act through. And he got it through because in his first 2 years, he had the House and the Senate. He had the majority Democrats in the House and the majority Democrats in the Senate, and he was the president. So the Democrats had all 3 on the table. The only one that they didn't have was the Supreme Court. But they could do all that, and they got it done. He passed it. Of course, they tried to go through the Supreme Court and everything, and the Supreme Court said, no, this thing is tight. And then they tried to unplug it, defund it. They did everything they could, but the Affordable Care Act is still here. In his last year of 2012, President Obama passed the Jobs Act. And very few people understand that JOBS, JOBS, stands for Jumpstart Our Business Startups. What it did was it totally retooled the way Wall Street can behave. For 80 years, only the wealthiest of the wealthy could get in on investments. But then Obama changed it and said, you and I can get together and pool our money as small guys to make it a big investment and have the same impact as these big investors. And also you can create opportunities for advertisers. And it created the Robinhood app. And look at how many people have become millionaires because of the Robinhood investment opportunities that they got in the palm of their hand. Obama did that. And so the thing that I believe we have as black folk is the ability to form what's called an SPV, a special purpose vehicle. So rather than forming a chapter of the NAACP or a chapter of Urban League or this chapter stuff that we used to do back in the 60s, that's done for. What we need to be coming together is creating investment groups under the Jobs Act. You can now bring together up to 250 people, and those 250 people can pool their money. Let me show you how that works. 7-Eleven announced yesterday, day before yesterday, well, maybe yesterday, that they're closing 400 stores. Now, from an economic standpoint, you go, oh no, what's going on with 7-Eleven? They must be having hard times. No, 7-Eleven got 13,000 stores.
Well,
400 stores is 3% of their inventory. They're just cutting, that ain't even the fat. They're getting rid of the unprofitable stores, or the stores that's tough to manage. Maybe those in the hood where black folk are running in there stealing stuff, or you know how people they want to make us like criminals. Well, how about this? How about we work out a deal with 7-Eleven that we buy up every one of those 400 stores, and then we put a franchisee in that store to run it? Why don't we do that? Because nobody's thinking that. But I guarantee you this, we could say to 7-Eleven, sell us those 400 stores, and how about invest in the company that's going to buy it? Give us the money, invest in us to buy those stores from you. And they'll do it. It's done all the time. But that's just one example of how we can get into playing the game. But we've got to know how to do it. And I believe that we can do it. I'm doing that here right now, but I'm doing it on my own, with my own dollars, with my own network. I'm not trying to build out 250 people, but what I am doing is what I can do. This center right here, the Miriam Arcuff Innovation Center here in Jacksonville, I'm working now on building these all over the country so that people in their community can come in and have a place for 20 or 30 people to meet and decide to come together and do something. It doesn't take a rocket scientist to do that. And I don't have to wait till Jesus comes back to make that happen. This is something that I can do by myself.
Yeah.
And so what we've got to do is this, is if you can do it, do it. Don't wait for permission. Don't ask. I ain't asking nobody's permission. James Brown, the great prophet and poet, said it best. I don't want nobody to give me nothing. Open up the door and I'll get it myself.
But we still got to have those funds in our community to help build the community, you know. And like I said, you know, I wish the athletes would look at it and say, you know, something, we can come together collectively. And nobody's telling you to put all your money into it, but it's enough of you all out there that y'all can make a big part of money and make a big difference in this country. And white folks will stand up and look and say, you know something, they do have the power. You know, they do have the power, but it's not happening. You know, like I said, you do have some athletes that are putting back into the community, but you got what? They probably not even 5% of the professional athletes for all sports.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, you know, the rest of them just holding on to their money, blowing it all up, and then they get 50, they don't have nothing, you know.
Well, yeah. And for me, that's I mean, what we can do is this, is it's not that difficult, right? For us to be able to make a difference and bring people together to begin to do the kind of investment opportunities. We have to start small. And that's really what we say here with my program, the PS Factor. Start small, think big, grow fast, begin now.
Yeah.
And so with every tick of the clock, we're missing opportunities. Well, when we're talking about why it can't be done or what do we have to do, we've had over 400 years of motivation to get it done.
Yeah.
We don't need any more motivation. So we know we got the motivation. Now we just need to start doing it. And I feel like what you're doing, and Reggie, what you guys are doing is the foundation for us to begin to make things happen. Let me share this, and I know I've been chewing up a lot of time on this conversation here, but I want to create this, give this image to you, to your viewers, because and I always use this as a great example. When they built a suspension bridge over the Niagara River that led to Niagara Falls, they wanted to connect Canada to New York, but they couldn't get across the Niagara River. So they needed to get that first cable across to build this suspension bridge. So they tried to shoot it across with a harpoon, but it fell short. They tried to put it on a boat and go up the river, but the water was rushing too fast, so the boat couldn't travel. Then one of the engineers got the idea to have a kite flying contest. And they had a contest, and a 16-year-old won the kite flying contest to see who could fly their kite and make it land over on the other side of the river.
Mm-hmm.
And they took that kite string, and onto that kite string, they attached a stronger piece of wire. And to that wire, they attached the cable. And to that cable, they attached the all of the equipment that they needed. And they put it in on both sides of the river. And little by little, they built that suspension bridge. And I don't know how long it was up there, but on one level, they had the cars, and the bottom level, they had the train that went across that suspension bridge. And it all started with a kite string.
Mm-hmm.
What we're trying to do is we want to snap our fingers and have this bridge appear across this great divide. That's not going to happen. What we have to do is start with the kite string that we have in our hand. And right now, it may only be one of us that's brilliant enough to make the one connection that everybody can come along. I don't even know the kid's name who did that.
Mm-hmm.
And so my name may not be written in history as the one who made this thing happen, where entrepreneurs and individuals started pooling their money in community after community, because it takes $200,000 to buy it at 70 on average, maybe $200,000 to $300,000. The high is, I think, $750 for a 7-Eleven franchise. That's 200 people putting in $1,000 each, 100 people putting in $2,000 each.
Mm-hmm.
There are people who sitting in church every Sunday who could do that.
Oh,
How many churches? There are 400 churches who could buy those 400 7-Elevens. So we don't. It's not about whether or not we can do it. It's do we have the leadership to be able to change our thinking from the way that it's been and make it happen.
That's a mouthful. That's the problem. We don't have the mindset. We got to develop that mindset. To do those types of things. And if you knew the 400 stores, where they were located at, and what their financials look like for each location, you probably could go in there and make a deal with them and get all 400 probably at a basement price, bargain price.
That's what we're working on now. I'm reaching out to the company, and hopefully I can get an audience with the organ. I mean, this is a huge corporation, but I'm not. I'm no different than when you hear about Byron Allen trying to buy a network, or Bill Cosby trying to buy a network. I am no different. So I just want to begin the conversation and see what we can do. If there, 20% of those, I'm certain 20% of those are well within the Black community, that on the outskirts, that we can put entrepreneurs in those stores to run them and do. When I was in DC, I don't know where you're in the DMV area, correct?
Yep.
When I was there, I met this family in Chinatown, and they literally pulled the curtain back and showed me what they were doing to build all these Chinese restaurants. And what you don't realize is every time you see a Chinese restaurant, it's got a different name. Those are all the same franchise. They all have the same model. So they'll bring somebody over here because you can come over on a visa if you're coming to work in a business. Most people don't know that. So there are there are those who are standing in line. There are those who are coming through the airport with bags in hand, immigrants coming into this country, and they're doing it because they're coming to run a business.
Yeah.
And so what they do is the group gives the person that's coming to run the business, he comes over with his bags in his hand and nothing. They give him 49% of the restaurant and say to him, you work it and pay us back. And when you paid us back, then you will get the 49%, but we'll always own 51%. But you have to let us build the building. You have to let us supply the stock. That's why every Chinese restaurant you go into, it's got the same packet of duck sauce. It's got the same packet of soy sauce. It's got the same napkins, because they're all
fortune cookies.
They're same fortune cookies. They're all the same restaurants. They're just one. There's no reason why we can't do the same
They
thing.
work together. They work together. We don't work together like this because somebody will get fussing and say, I don't like the color of that packet no more. I want to change the color of the packet for my restaurant.
I'm going to say this. I'm going to give more of a benefit of the doubt, if you will, to us, because I think that what makes racism is that they think we are all the same, and then they have the power to apply that thinking to us. What makes us just bigots or prejudiced, because we can't be racist, especially not against ourselves, is when we do say the same thing, all black people this, or we can't do that. That's the foundation of racism.
Right.
But we don't have the power to change that. We don't have the power to make it so. And that's where racism rears its ugly head, because racism has the power to make it so.
Right.
So the only thing that makes it so with us is our words. So what I'm saying to you is this: I'm going to encourage those who are out there who think that Kamala Harris is not going to win, or who think that black people can't come together. I'm going to encourage you to change your way of thinking, change your mentality, so that your mindset will shift. Because the mentality is Kamala Harris will win. If it doesn't hurt me to say she's going to win, it doesn't hurt me at all. It doesn't hurt me at all to say we can work together. It doesn't hurt me to say that. And I'm going to challenge everybody to do that. Watch what happens. Let's just put it out in the atmosphere. Yes, we do love each other. We do care for each other. We are a caring people. And I know that that sounds like I'm talking crazy, but at the very least, that's the way I believe myself to be. And I'm hoping that we can have that to everybody in the community.
We are those things, but we don't trust each other, and we got to build that trust factor. And that's where it's all. Until we can look at each other and say, "Look, brother, I love you and I trust you. We're going to do this thing together," and leave it on the table and do it, and don't look back and think somebody's trying to get some more than what you're going to get.
Well, let me start. Let me begin right now, brother. I love you and I trust you, and we can do this thing together.
And we can.
So I'm saying it. Okay, so now let's go do it.
Yeah,
let's do it.
I've always been like this. I just need enough money to get me a box of cornflakes every day. Okay. I want to spread the wealth. I want to see us be successful. I want to see us have some control, okay, and build something for our grandchildren and great grandchildren, and all that stuff, and our children. That's all I want. I don't need to be a billionaire. I don't need to have $4 million working for me every minute. I don't need that, you know. But I do need to see us move along and get from under this BS that these white power brokers from the Republican Party are throwing at us. We got to get beyond that and say, look, we're going to control our own destiny.
Well, I got news. I got news for you. They are not the power brokers anymore. Trump has proven. No, they are not. They are not. And the only thing that they got going for them is the ability to destroy everything, and that's their mindset. If I can't have it, nobody will.
Yeah.
So they've been burning our stuff down for 500 years, and it's in their DNA. Trump said something the other day about crime is in the DNA, like trying to put it in there. Hell, you better look at what's DNA. DNA is in their DNA. It's in their DNA, and I'm not speaking disparagingly of all white people. By no means am I saying this is for all white people, but I'm saying those who have this in their mindset that I must be all powerful all the time, and if I can't be all powerful all the time, I'll destroy it. That's an issue within yourself, not us.
That's right.
So I think we can change this. What I challenge you and Mark to do is let's not let the next conversation we have be the next time I'm invited to the podcast. That's what I want to do, because I want to have a weekly call. I just spoke this morning with someone from India. We're working on bringing India is the spice capital of the world. So
Yep.
all this majority of spices. So we're looking at producing essential oils here. So a black owned company that produces essential oils. That's what this center is for. It's for people to come here with ideas that
Right.
can actually change the world. And through SMS Global Consultants, my consulting firm, and the nonprofit side, which is the Business Alliance and the Miriam Arkup Innovation Center here, we just want to spark ideas. And
Right.
and then I have some coins, okay, but I can't be investing in everything that comes through the door.
Right.
But there are some things that I will put my money behind and put my resources behind. And I think what you and I are talking about is worthy of doing it. I'm not going to be. I'm going to be in the DMV in another couple of weeks. So
Yeah.
maybe the next time I'll holler at you and we can meet and get something done. Mark, I definitely got to connect with you. I know we talk, but I've not had a chance to talk with you offline. I'm looking forward to do that.
Okay.
Looking forward to it. Looking forward to chatting with you. Maybe even you coming down to Durham, North Carolina, and all along those lines. But definitely know some leaders here as well as elsewhere. So looking forward to the conversation.
Yeah. How did you guys fare during the storm? I mean,
We
when it
don't
came
get
through.
that bad here in Durham, North Carolina. A lot of what got hit was more the mountain. My mom lives in Rocky Mount. She got hit a little bit, which is closer to the Virginia border and everything. But the center part, we didn't do that bad. I mean, a place that some events were held at, they had like a little mini lake, but it was back to normal like a few days later. So relatively well here. I mean, there were some people without electricity, but nowhere near the kind of damage that the mountain got.
Right. Well, man, my heart goes out to those that are devastated by these storms, and we just gotta think as one, not black, white. I think about it. When was the last time you heard any politician say these United States of America? They always are saying America, 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 or because by saying America, it makes it possible to go take the next step to the right and say states' rights, states' rights. But when you are the United States, you got to it's a give and take thing in order to be considered united. And what are we united around? There is no united. Trump made it certain that we're all, every state, every man for himself, or those who don't feel they have the power, they don't vote. And for those people who are not voting, and again, follow what I'm saying, because I don't want that. I had someone to take something I said on the podcast, and they literally took just one section out of context and use it to promote their podcast, which was, I know you guys are not doing that, but I'm saying the person who willfully, knowingly does what they do, not vote, that's stupid. But there are a lot of people who get bombarded with information, and so much so they become discouraged. That person who doesn't vote is the person that we need to reach out to and let them know that now is not the time to give up.
Right.
And there are a lot of people who are not voting because they are discouraged. There are some who are voting because they just think that they ain't gonna, I'm not gonna do it because I refuse to. No. But the person that's been discouraged because it looks so bad or whatever, we've got to change that and tell them, look, all hope is not gone. And the world is not as bad as they make it seem, and your vote does count. So I'm saying that's the number one. Like Obama said, don't boo, vote.
Right. Okay, guys, it's been real. I'm in Georgia. I'm gonna be down in Durham, North Carolina next week. Yeah, next week for homecoming. Spend a couple of days down there and go check on my house down there and everything. Just relax and everything. But everyone, we've had a robust conversation tonight. Myself, Richard Guff, a good friend of mine out of Jacksonville, Mark Lee, my producer. We've done the talk show circuit good tonight. So people, go out and look. We got to vote, okay? You know who you got to vote for. You know what you got to do. Let's go do it, okay? Don't let no one discourage you from voting, saying that your vote doesn't count, because your vote counts, okay? So let's get it, get out. Most states now are doing early voting. It's too late to register now, but I think North Carolina has same day voting. I don't know about, same day registration. I don't know about Florida, Maryland. We do not. So, we got to go with what we got right now. But, we the strongest blue state in the country behind California. So Maryland's in a good shape, But people, be safe out there. This is very important. We've got to get this thing right. And so we got to get prepared for it. And remember, 250,000 people voted in Georgia today, first day of voting. So look, and most of them were us, look like us, okay?
Yeah.
So, let's get out there and let's get it done. So until the next time around, people, be safe, and hopefully the magazine will be out by Friday morning. Take care. Talk to you later now. Bye-bye.
We can have the Georgia selection Thursday. Early voting is actually going to be on early voting will start on Thursday. That's what they're going to say. So here in North Carolina, early voting starts on Thursday, the 17th. But right now, like you already did, we're out of here.